I will show how to cast on for a folded edge using Judy's Magic Cast On. I cast on the stitches on a circular needle, and I begin by placing the yarn end between the two needles. Then I pull through a length of yarn depending on how many stitches I need to cast on. I cross the yarns and hold them with my thumb and index finger. The first stitch is cast on to the back needle, and I will now cast on a stitch on the front needle. I do this by passing the yarn around the front needle and down between the two needles with my index finger. On the back needle, I make the stitch with the thumb. The yarn is brought up between the two needles and around the back needle. I continue this way with the index finger around the front needle and down between the two needles, and with the thumb up between the two needles and around the back needle. You should end up with the same number of stitches on both needles. You can see that the stitches have been cast on correctly when they form a purl line on the back. When you have the needed number of stitches, twist the last stitch to lock it. The stitches on the lower needle are set to rest. I put them on a wire. I now have the stitches ready to knit the edge, while the other stitches rest until the edge is folded. If the edge is to be knitted on a small needle, it may be a good idea to transfer the resting stitches to a smaller circular needle. The stitches will slide more easily on the wire of the needle compared to a slightly thicker stitch wire. I've now set the stitches ready to work in the round with magic loop, and just make sure that the stitches have not been twisted along the way. Then I start by placing a marker at the beginning of the round. In this case, I want to knit a stockinette stitch edge that will be folded over, but it could just as well be a rib edge. So I knit in the round. I've now knitted 10 rounds in stockinette stitch. So I now have 12 rows, since the cast on itself forms 2 rows. I remove the marker and get ready to knit the edge together. the resting stitches are prepared to work on the small needle. Then I fold the edge over on the back. And place the needles next to each other. The stitches are knitted together 2 at a time. I pass the needle through the first stitch on the front needle and then the first stitch on the back needle. Then knit the 2 stitches together and slip both stitches off the needles. I continue this way, knit the stitch on the front needle and the stitch on the back needle together. Now all the stitches are knitted together and I have a nice folded edge. The provisional cast on is very flexible.